What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 16 of Bettin N Boozin here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I am your host, Kyle Roscoe. And guys, as we touched on yesterday in that Tuesday show, I still have no words for what happened this weekend. Absolutely unbelievable. Not only what happened to Keeneland, but, great racing all around. We did Oaklawn for last Saturday, which Howard's already given me enough crap for everybody else, but that secret oath beat is pretty tough to swallow and still is to this day. But I just switched this the wrong way. But it's still pretty tough to swallow, honestly. And Clarier, like I said, is definitely, I think she's the better horse, but I didn't think she would be able to get up with that trip that secret oath would sit. But hey, I mean, Clarier, like I said, shows her class and shows her dominance. And now with Malathar gone, hopefully that effort can turn into a really good 3-year-old. Wow. A mare season for her. Wow. That was bad on my part. But, like I said, guys, an absolutely great weekend coming up again this weekend. We have not only the races we're going to be talking about covering the Doubledogdare Stakes at Keeneland on Friday, we have the Elkhorn Stakes, the Ben Alley Stakes, and the return of the big man Smokin' Jay, which I will touch on. Of course I will. I have to touch on him, but I will touch on him in a few minutes here. But guys, like I said, if you're new here or just find yourself coming back on the regular, please go down below and hit that subscribe button. We have surpassed 2,000 subscribers. Again, congratulations to Howard and everybody else, Pete, Paul, Patrick, Charlie, and myself. Just an absolutely amazing milestones, and thank you guys for everything that you guys have done over the past. We could not have done it without the community. So again, guys, thank you guys so much. Greatly appreciate it. But if you're down there, like I said, if you're not subscribed yet, hit subscribe. Keep joining everyone that's all the support that's pouring in. Like I said, it's only going to get better for Derby week. So, and if while you're down there, please hit like on this video. It lets YouTube know that this is a show that people want to watch. So please, if you can, please go down there, hit that like button. We would greatly appreciate it. If you are more of an audio listener, and I would suggest over here on YouTube, we have, great video and you would love to see our faces. But if you're not, if you're more of an audio person, please go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor, and please rate, review, and subscribe on those. Those are our main 3 audio platforms that we use. The HHH Racing Podcast Power Picks. Again, we don't even have to really touch on these anymore, but for any of you that are new, we are absolutely killing it again this year. That year to date has gone up as we had 2 more winners on the spot plays last weekend. And not to mention, Paul Halloran gave out his pick 5 grid and every single one of his top picks hit last week. Granted, and that turned into $135,000. So it's a great day to have a great day. But we're giving out winners nonstop over there. So again, if you are interested, please go to patreon.com/HHH Racing Podcast. That is also linked in the description below. And like I said, it's only going to get better for Derby as we're going to have a bunch of blowout editions. So please go over there if you are interested. And thank you so much to our great sponsor of the Bettin N Boozin Show, BetUS, fantastic sports betting casino platform. And we have a promo code if you're going to deposit money. Please use code RACING3H. They receive a free 125% back if you deposit $100 or more. And an updated website that we have, hhhracingpodcast.com, not with all the power picks that are also on there. The previous editions of the power picks are on there in case you would like to take a look at them before purchasing. And then all the stuff about this weekend with our great co-host Paul Halloran and Powered and I and everyone else that showed up that got some great shout outs yesterday. That is all on there as well. Please go to the HHHRacingPodcast.com if you are interested. Guys, I'm going to say hello to a bunch of people in the chat. We have a decent amount of people watching already. Thank you to everyone showing up. Steven, I mentioned you in the chat already, but good evening to you, sir. Nick Feldman, good evening, my friend. It's unlucky for those that 3 in the middle there. You got some bombs coming over the top that sadly you didn't have in that early pick 5, but hopefully you cash the rest of the day, my friend. I hope so. Michael Austin, good evening, sir. Thanks so much for coming in. Jim Pilars, I have my chalk ready to end my blackboard. Hey, I might have some big ones. We'll see how it goes. I haven't looked at any of the morning lines. Most likely they'll probably all be 6-5 with the way it goes on. But I never look at the morning lines, but it just shakes out like that. But maybe I'll have some big ones. Got to take a look at it. Thanks, Jim, for joining the show. And Racing Downwind, how's it going, my friend? And thank you so much for the congrats on the 2,000 plus. Couldn't have done it without you guys. So thanks so much. Now, Yeah, and Michael Lawson, I'm going to touch on this as well. You singled Clairiere. It was either you singled Clairiere or you single Secret Oath for me, and they ran 1-2 to the wire. Just, again, Clairiere nips the better horse, and that's the way it goes. But, yeah, it's the Oaklawn pick 5 was definitely tough, and the last leg, I mean, God, how big of a price was that? I think it was like 68-1 or something like that paid in the last leg over like a 34-1. Ridiculous, but anyway, we're going to get going here. Let me take that banner down, and we're going to go in here with the late pick 5, the late pick 5 at Keeneland on Friday. And as you can see on my banner down there, I'm driving to Keeneland again for this week. And as the guys will touch on, I'll touch on here in a minute. It's for a really good cause. Even better, some would say, hopefully, than last weekend. But I'm going to bring on my co-host right now. From the East Coast of New Jersey, Patrick Kuenzel, and from the Ohio State University, Charlie Freeman. Guys, that's like 2 weeks in a row that the band's together. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a miracle.
Yeah, we got the gang back together.
And what's a miracle, Patrick, is we can hear you now finally. So
you can hear me. All right. Well, cheers to that, because I was getting a little nervous there for a second.
You're all good. Yeah, Patrick was having some technical difficulties earlier, but we're glad that he's here. And cheers to everyone out there as we go through this pick 5 on Bettin N Boozin. Guys, this was a pretty tough pick 5. There's not a clear, for me at least, there wasn't a clear single. There definitely is one who is the most likely winner on the card, which I did end up singling in my pick 5, as we'll see later and as we'll go over. But this one was definitely tough, and there's a lot of races you can go many different ways. And as based on the picks, the guys have not seen the picks yet of each other. I obviously had to, as I put them all in. We're all over the place. Finally, after it's not me and Patrick picking the same horses for 5 races straight again, which is how it ended up going last time. But and then Penn State's got one final shout out. Good evening to you, sir. Thanks so much for coming out. I appreciate it. So now, guys, let's get right into it. We're not going to waste any time here, as we have a pretty big pick 5 to go over from Keeneland. As I bring up the actually, excuse me, we're not starting yet, because again, as I mentioned, there's one particular big man who is racing this Saturday, and I want to give crisp shout out to him as also the sponsors of the show, Crownsway Racing and Tony Rollo and all of them. I want to give a big shout out to our big man, Smokin' Jay, races on Saturday at Keeneland, which is what I am driving down there for. Again, me and my girlfriend Emma, we were both driving down to join the group. It's an allowance for $130,000. He is Kentucky bred, so he's eligible for that allowance money. He drew the 2 in a full field of 12, going 5.5 furlongs on the turf. We got Tyler Gaffleone up, and I'm gonna put us on the screen for that. Thank God Tyler's okay after that big spill that happened today in race 6. It looks like he got trampled, and he only comes out, from what I saw, only with a cut on his face, which is that's extremely lucky, but I'm super glad that Tyler's okay, and not just because he's riding my horse on Saturday, but yeah, it's going to be a big race on Saturday, and there's big plans for him after if he runs well. He's got one of the highest buyer speed figures coming off that last race at Gulfstream that you all know if you've been following the podcast. So again, just shoot out a little bit of love there for Smokin' Jay and the rest of Crownsway and myself as we go for a pretty big one here on Saturday. But again, it's my show. Howard's going to touch on tomorrow, obviously, as this is the last race of the sequence of the late pick 5. But it's my show, damn it. I'm giving love to my horse, who's up there in the corner, but you guys cannot see him. But good luck to the big gray man on Saturday. But now, guys, as I switch the PPs over to the race we're actually covering, it starts with race 6 on Friday. It's going to be race 6 through 10, and it is a starter allowance 50,000 with a purse of 57,000, a field of 8, and the morning line favorite is the number 1 Morning Cup for Irad and Albert Stahl. And I'm going to switch over the PPs right now, and like I said, these are the first time that these guys are seeing the picks of each other, and again, it's crazy, but we're all going with different horses in this race. I'm going with the 2, Patrick's going with the 5, and Charlie's going with the 4. So how about that? Take that, Jim. Nobody is going with the chalk in this race on top. And Patrick,
that's my top 3.
Hey, it is. Yeah, in your top 3. That's also correct. But Patrick, I'm going to you first now that you're on it. What do you like about the number 5 supremely on top for Foley and Lannery?
Yeah, this is a race where I think you have to go with a horse that seems to be improving I love to look at the buyer speed figures, and this horse would show that it is improving, going from 3 back at 65 buyer to a 73 to a 76, all at the same distance. And I was fairly impressed with the horse's last race, considering the pace that was it was insanely fast. So coming back out of that, I think this horse has a decent chance. I think the 4 appeal denied it's inflated by that 93 buyer, which I don't know if the person that was giving the buyers that day was drunk or what was going on, but well, what it is, what it is. Um, but I just think that this is a type of race where, the pace is, it could be quick, but it's not too quick. And I'm hoping Lannery can find a spot for this horse and be right there.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a horse that's not far off. I don't have this horse in, just because I don't think this horse necessarily classes up coming over from fairgrounds. But look, if this horse can continue to improve off that 76, this horse can definitely be live coming over from fairgrounds. Charlie, you're going with the number 4, who Patrick has in second, also a Hive in second. It's the as they would say, the first Foley for like I said, appeal denied for Donnemeyer Farm, ridden by Tyler Gaffleone, the trooper. As I said, what did you like most about appeal denied?
Yeah, so with the 4, I mean, we want to talk about, as Patrick was saying earlier, about seeing a horse improve. I mean, this horse is the definition of it. Hadn't run since November, comes back in February, right around the distance that this race is, and just puts up a 93 out of nowhere. Sat right off the pace, got to the front, got in a tough battle, and just couldn't get there late. Love, obviously, I mean, Tyler Gaffleone's my favorite jockey in the world. And I mean, if him battling through all this to continue racing after what happened doesn't show, on top of how talented he is, like just how competitive he is, and the fact that he's able to push through everything that he obviously went through with a scary incident. I mean, I want to roll with him. I like the horse. I think he has a good chance to win. I think the morning line's pretty accurate. I would not be surprised if this horse receives a good amount of money, because I'm sure a lot of people are going to see that huge jump to the 93 figure off the layoff and say maybe whatever it took over that time awaken this horse, and now it can start to really keep going. Because if it runs like its last race, it should win this race in my eyes.
Yeah, it's for me on this horse. This horse is extremely weird. I don't know what other way to put it. Like, it goes 73, loses by 2 3/4 first time out. You're like, okay, that's a good run. Then he loses by goes to 7, loses by 15, and then he getting a 53, comes back to win going away with an 82.
Maybe
then comes back.
Those are too strong.
I mean, I guess, but I mean, 5.5. I mean, maybe it is just the sweet spot, but there's a massive jump to the 82, a massive regression, and then a massive jump again to 93. I didn't know what really to do with this horse, in the sense where I don't know if he's going to run another 93 or he's just going to flatten out to a dud. But you could be on. It was a big jump last time, got a big number. I think going back up in class, he's going to have to show it a little bit to me again. But you are right, Charlie. I think he's going to take a lot of money showing that 93 buyer. I think this horse could be live, especially if he continues on that 93.
That's interesting, though, kind of touching on what you said, though, is what's weird is, so obviously it ran in September and had that 82. And then after having its clear-cut best race and winning going away, it inexplicably goes on a layoff until November and then comes out a shell of itself and has 2 duds. But then again, they take it off again, and now it comes back off a layoff and has a career effort. So I can definitely see the arguments for why it's weird, but who knows? Maybe I don't know what happened at the time that they chose to shut it down the first time, but I guess I can see why they felt the need to shut the horse down again, and maybe they found something. So that's what I'm kind of banking on.
Yeah, and Charles, I will touch on your comment. I agree. I've watched every single race of Keeneland this spring meet, and it's definitely more on the dirt than the turf. The track has played fair in some instances, but a lot of the time it is coming from the front or just off the pace. So I do agree with your comment. And Nick, I'll get to yours in a second. The one does look really fast on paper, and as I go through 57, 85, 96, I would say the one's definitely faster than the 5. The 6 is kind of slow, the 7's slow out the gate, and the 8 is slow. But my hope is that the 5 can show a little bit more speed, Nick, to be able to catch up to the 1, and I don't think the 2 is going to sit very far off of him at all. And I hope that the 6 can get first run. I'll tell you what. after those last two efforts at Fairgrounds, the second to last effort really wasn't that good. I really liked the 6 furlong effort at the claiming level of 50,000. Goes up to a mile, runs really well against Master Game, who's a decent horse in his own right. Just kind of dies out towards the mile. I love the turn back to 6.5. But Nick, your comment is definitely taken to where the one. I'm going to talk about the one. I think this, and I'll let you talk about your 3, Charlie, and then we'll move on. But the one is definitely could have a pace advantage in this race. But that last race at Fairgrounds, granted, it was at a mile, and I just run cold pace after cold pace. I mean, 21-4 is really not that slow, but able to slow it down. It could be extremely interesting to see where this horse or who goes with this horse early. There's one favorite that I'm looking to beat in this. It's the one, but Nick, like I said, your comment is definitely taken. This horse definitely can get loose on the front end. But like I said, I'm hoping that the 5 will be able to show some early speed, go with them, and Schmoozen can kind of tip out at the top of the stretch, because I don't really seeing anyone just having tactical speed like Schmoozen does in this spot. And Charlie, I'm going to let you talk about your 3, Stand for Freedom, who Charles B actually really likes in this spot, as Ian Wilkes has definitely been saving up his good horses for Keeneland this year.
Yeah, I guess Charlie's think alike. But yeah, no. So the reason the 3 got me excited is, I mean, I love closers. I know obviously with the distance and with what you guys were talking about with Keeneland on the dirt, doesn't exactly sound ideal for the 3 because it is a horse that's going to want to come off the pace. But my honest thought process was kind of what you were talking about, Kyle. Like, there is a good amount of speed in this race. There are a good amount of horses that want to go to the front. So I feel like if you are looking for another horse to consider maybe at a little more of a reasonable price that could maybe surprise, why not look for a closer where if the race does happen to fall apart and the pace is hot enough, I don't see why the 3 couldn't get there. So that was my thought process with putting the 3 down there, was if this race falls apart, the 3 is the horse to me that seemed the most likely to be able to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, I mean, this horse has run really well at the claiming level. It was able to do it on back at 6.5 at Turfway in the maiden 50. Going to face winners for the first time, but still had really good runs at Keeneland and Churchill last time. And bet pretty well too. I don't think this horse is going to necessarily be favored by any means in this spot. I think you'll get a good 7-1 on this horse in the like I said, in this spot. But the 1 is definitely the most likely winner of this race. But all of us are going to try and beat him. And I know Jim thinks he's watching the wrong show because I said I'm going to try to beat a favorite. But don't worry, Jim. I have him in my pick 5 anyway, so don't worry about that. I always include the chalk. But
I like what the chat's saying also. I agree. The 7 was a horse I was considering it, so I was surprised when I saw the lines that it was that big of a long shot.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, I know what Nick Tamaro is thinking on this one. Also, great name, by the way. Great game, great name. But I think people are going to look at connection-wise and that he's coming from Turfway at 3rd and claiming, and I think this horse is not going to take that much money. But look, this horse doesn't have a whole lot of back numbers on dirt really at all. If I show all lines here, where the heck did that go? He actually has no starts on dirt at all. Actually, I could have just looked up there, but I think that's another thing. So I mean, horses can easily translate from the synth to the dirt, even though that is a question mark. I think, but with all the factors I just stated, I think that's why that horse is going to be 15-1. But if the horse takes to the dirt, there's no saying why this horse can't clunk up for 2nd or 3rd by any means, especially if somehow the pace falls apart and either the 1 or Schmoozen or the 5 cannot get up there. But I'm going 2-4-1. Patrick's going 5-4-2, and Charlie's going 4-3-1. I did not mention the 8, of which, and I believe that's probably going after the next race. But that's race 6, and then going on to race 7, guys. I'm gonna switch the picks right now, and again, we're all over the place, boys. I'm going with the 9. Pex is going with the 8, and Charlie is going with the 1. I actually don't even have the 1 anywhere. So Charlie, I'm gonna let you go first. I did my homework for this race. These not a baby race by any means, but these 3-year-old maiden special weights I love to do my homework on. So Charlie, what did you like about the number 1 Kappa girl for Cox and Giroux?
So I do want to say I'm very happy that you have the 6 up there, because I will say to the viewers curious, I flipped actually the 1 and the 6 like a little bit before I sent in my picks, because I was just going back and forth. The problem is for me, I actually like the 1 the most. Like the horse makes the most sense to me, but my natural pet peeve, which is what I was fighting between myself, is I get really scared taking a first-time starter on the rail. It's just usually a really bad recipe. You never want to take a first-time starter on the rail. They get nervous. It's not a good spot. You prefer them closer to the middle. However, it is Brad Cox, great jockey as well with on the saddle as well. Obviously not a cheap horse either. Decent workouts as well. Like I said, I don't know. I mean, everything for me made sense. I just didn't like the post position. I didn't really like any of the horses with experience. So I thought, you know what, there were some classy first-time starters. So why not take some chances on a few of them? That's why I went strictly with all first-time starters. But yeah, the 1, again, just everything other than the post position checked out for me. So that's how I ended up finishing with the 1 on top.
Yeah, and you can actually see I have write-ups on all the horses in this race. I just think this horse, I don't think you're going to get that 4-1 necessarily. I know it's going to be on the rail. The works are pretty good for this horse. Constitution wins at a decent clip with his first-time starters. But the dam's runners, if I go to the dam of Haley Gay, go to the siblings PPs, Moments to Savor was 3 for 39. Blunder was 0 for 16, still a maiden as of March 6th of 23. I mean, and then obviously the other two that are unraced, Copper Girl being the one in this race, but this horse was 0 for 14 on dirt, and this horse was 2 for 24 on dirt. So that for me, and especially since this horse is going to be such a short price, I am going to stay away from this horse, at least on the win end for me. I do include this horse on my pick 5 just due to the connections and the works of this horse, but like I said, I think this horse is going to be a pretty big underlay, probably around that 3-1 mark. And the way that her siblings have ran, I cannot take the chance, especially on top end for this horse. Patrick, you have this horse in second, but you have the 8 on chop, which is Check Engine Light for Jorge Abreu and Luis Saez.
Yeah, just one thing on the 1 before I
absolutely
talk about my top choice. Just watch the board with that horse, especially because, you know, you look at the connections. I mean, I know from, you know, up at Saratoga in the summer, when you have a horse like this that's only been training, has never raced, you have to watch the board. Because, I mean, if you see it's getting pounded on the board, you know, you're gonna know you have to play the horse. You know, if not, then, you know, you go opposite directions. But that's just my little tidbit there. With Check Engine Light, the 8, you know, my angle with this horse is Jorge Abreu, predominantly New York trainer based, ships this horse in, coming out of that $200,000 stake at Aqueduct. Horse threw a dud. They would not send this horse to Keeneland to run in a maiden special weight for $100,000 if they didn't know they had something. And I just think that you get Luis Saez aboard. Distance seems to be perfectly fit for this horse. I think 6.5 furlongs will be perfect. You should get a decent price. I'm looking at the morning line, 9-2. I was expecting a little bit more, not going to lie, but I think if this horse can find the right trip, it's got a great shot.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll tell you why I think this horse is going to be 9-2. They're going to look at this special weight coming from Aqueduct at a mile, and the one from 7 furlongs right there just loses by a nose at 4-5. Goes to a listed stake, doesn't do anything. Now comes back down to, not down to earth per se, but down to more her level at this point. It's Gold Square, picks up Saez. You can see on my write-up, threw her into the busher, never showed, turning back into a maiden race again. Could be dangerous with her with this company in a nice trip. So if this horse has tactical speed and has showed it beforehand, I think this horse could be really good at 6.5 turning back from that mile. So I agree with you, Patrick, on that one. I went with the number 9, Small Town Girl for Maker and Gaffleone. Charles B agrees. Jim, I know you're happy as this is the chalk for this race, of course, but I really like this horse. I mean, you can see in this write-up that I did, Oscar Performance Philly showed some promise at Oaklawn and threw 2 pretty hot paces for Maker. Keeps Tyler and could sit a decent trip behind the pace. I don't think the extra half furlong is going to be any type of problem for this horse. Not to mention, if you look at the first race she ran at Oaklawn, look at these horses that she beat or that they're coming out of it. You have Punch Bowl, which got second in the Ashland, favored in the Ashland, just behind Defining Purpose. Unsung Melody, who came back to win a maiden special weight at Oaklawn at 6. Sacred Wish, who won at Oaklawn next time out and then got second in the Gulfstream Park Oaks behind Affirmative Lady. This horse ran against absolute monsters her first time out, so this 6 doesn't really scare me by any means, considering also she set a hot pace that day. And then coming back at Oaklawn, this horse is also entered in race 8 of this card, which is actually this is race 7, right? Yeah, this horse is actually, I think she's an AE of the next race. I think she'll probably run here for Maker, and I think she could be really tough in this spot, coming back into more an easier competition, I should say. The works are good. My Page's Duel is should produce some really good dams or some really good progeny, excuse me. And if she improves off that 67, I think this horse could be really tough in here. But so I'm going with the number 6 in second, who actually Charlie has in third, but no one else. Charlie, I'll talk about my write-up real quick, and I'll let you touch on anything else that you have about this horse. With D'Amato and Pratt, Nick touched on it as well in the chat that D'Amato's bringing it. He's 2 for 2 with the 2 horses he's brought over from his California barn at this meet. Obviously, this horse is racing at Santa Anita, has 1 work over the track in 47. That's 3 out of 56. I think the only thing that really weirds me out about this horse, and actually Nick gave it a 10-1. I don't know if you'll get that price on this horse, but if you go to the dam breeding, I mean, it's all turf. It's all Euro turf. So it's Sassini, and then Fastnet Rock, obviously you don't have, but Eva's Request, all long turf. That's my only, obviously Munnings and Speightstown produce great sprint runners here in the U.S., but the dam side is all turf. So it's going to be interesting. This horse has really good works, like I said. So hopefully this horse showed that it can handle the dirt. I'm also afraid that you're going to get probably 5-1 on this horse as well, being that it's D'Amato and Pratt on this horse with a pretty much bullet work in its last. Charlie, is that kind of what you saw, or do you have anything else to add?
I mean, yeah, like I said, I originally had this horse on top, but I mean, I don't have the access to like look at the stuff about the past breeding, but I knew something was up when I saw it was at 10-1. Because when you look at how expensive the horse is, you look at the works, you look at the trainer and jockey connections, everything, like you said, kind of screams this horse should probably be like 5-6-1. And I think that's probably more of what you'll get at it. But yeah, I certainly think this is a horse that could have a chance to win. I mean, again, with these first time starters, you never know what's going to happen. Has a decently reasonable post as well. So who knows? I mean, if it lives up to what it's looking like and doesn't run out of gas and can show, even though it seems like maybe it's more meant for turf, as you mentioned, this horse could be one that surprises. And again, with the connections and the price and workouts, it wouldn't surprise me. Then, in terms of anything else I'd want to touch on, I know I'm the only one who has the 2 up there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going right there next just because you were on it. Nick Feldman, again, likes that IRAD jumps on the Stidham horse. Violence is about, actually it says right here, 18% first time clip, which is really nice. 9-2 for Stidham and IRAD.
I mean, again, another one that's been working forwardly. Michael Stidham, very respectable trainer. Obviously, anytime IRAD's on a horse, you have to give that horse a look. I mean, again, I think as you kind of also that shows in the horse note, this horse, because IRAD's on it, naturally will probably take more money than it should. But again, the reality is when we're making these picks, we're not really looking for who's the best value. If you bet the race individually, we're just looking for obviously the best candidates we think that could win to keep our ticket alive. Again, nobody really in this race. I do think that 9 could be tough, but I don't know if it'll go all the way in the distance. I could see it getting to the front and fading. So again, there was just no like true, even though it did go against some tough competition, there wasn't really a horse with experience that stood out to me. I saw some strong trainer jockey combos on some first time starters with good works. And I don't know, I just rather take my chances on some of the newbies whenever I see fit.
Completely get it. And I mean, this horse is going to take money just due to it having IRAD and Stidham. Looking through the Dams progeny, the Dams runners are 1 for 13 in sprints, and obviously being Violence and Medaglia d'Oro, I think this horse could want a little more distance. So I'm not sure if the 6.5 is going to fit this horse, but obviously if IRAD gets this, it gets her in a really good position. I think it could definitely be it could definitely be up there with the top flight. And Matt Miller, I'll get to your question in a second. I'm gonna let Patrick touch on Did we touch? No, we touched on the 1 already. Did we touch on the 8, Patrick? Or
Yeah, we did. We touched
we
on
did.
the
Check
8,
engine
and
light, of course.
you pretty much hit on everything I needed to speak about for the 9. So you could get to the question if you want.
Sounds good. All right, Matt Miller. Skeptical, not fun question. Derby coming up. Do you want to potentially lose Derby bankroll here, or save it to hit Derby day harder? You'll have strong opinions then. It's honestly, Matt, it's a great question because a lot of people. I'm obviously playing it because I'm going, not to mention that, but it brings up a really good point. Is that if you have a certain amount of bankroll and you don't really want to spend it, I would say only play your strongest opinions if you are going to play this card. Like I said, there's the ones that we're going to get to later where my stronger opinions. I really like the 9. I think that's definitely one of my strongest opinions, but I do have stronger opinions later. But Matt, that's a great question. I think that's something people need to keep in mind, especially as we get to closer and closer to the first Saturday in May, where people are going to be hurting for money if they spent it all on, crappy 50,000 claimers earlier in the month. So, I mean, it's definitely a good question for sure. Guys, I'm going to bring up race 8 here, which I believe is, it's the $130,000 allowance, $130,000. And we are pretty much around the same. Wait, did I mess up this? I think I messed this up because I didn't pick these. I might have messed up the picks. I'll look at them again real quick. Charlie, who was your top pick in this race?
This is race 8, correct?
Yeah, it is race 8, correct.
Yeah, race 8, I had 132.
132. Okay. Sorry about this, folks. My apologies. 132. And then Patrick, who did you have?
2-1-10.
2-1-10. I don't know how I messed that up. I'll get my picks obviously in a second. I know who this was, but Charlie, I'll let you go first. You have one of the Euros in this spot coming over from Ireland. It is Juncture for Brad Cox, Florent Giroux, and Juddmonte Farms. Charlie, I'll let you take it away. What'd you like about Juncture?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, this race was really scaring me at first since I ended up liking the first 3 horses. I'm not going to lie. When I started going through it, I was like, is there going to be a bad horse in this race? Am I going to be able to narrow this down to 3? Luckily, after I got through the first 3, I just didn't see anything that really appealed to me. Obviously, it is a little tough. It's not as easy to interpret when you go with these overseas horses. There's not as much you can compare or look through. And obviously, with the time for ratings, you also have to adjust because they are higher than Beyer, so it's not truly a 106. But yeah, I mean, the horse has been working well. Again, I really like the connections coming off of a solid win in a decent stakes race. Also, I mean, obviously, unfortunately, earlier on, the 3 got the best of this horse. But you can see still from the time form, nonetheless, that it did jump up from a 96 to a 106. So it is making improvements. And even though the 3 did get better to the 1, the reason I ended up putting the 1 on top is I just like that it got that next race after. With the 3 not racing since August, whereas the 1 got that race in November and ended up taking a big step forward. So I like that it is obviously still a decently long layoff, but not nearly as long as the 3's layoffs. That's how I ended up with the 1 horse on top.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can't go wrong with the connections in here. Cox and Giroux, and with Juddmonte Farms, this horse is definitely going to take money. You probably won't even get that 4-1 morning line clip. Out of 22 foreign shippers that have gone to Brad Cox, you can actually see it in the top right there. It's 17%. So, I mean, a pretty decent clip for Brad Cox, but definitely under his normal winning average. This horse ran at Dundalk on the synthetic, ran at Carra. I mean, placing and showing in Group 3 company is definitely not anything to sneeze at by any means, but did lose to the 3 at that race in August in the Snow Ferry Fillies, which obviously, like I said, is a Group 3 race. Takes the blinkers off for Cox, who she only had him on for the last race, but ended up actually drawing away in that race. I watched that race from Dundalk in November. But Charlie, you are right. She has a little more recency and is working really well over the fairground and Churchill tracks. So this horse is definitely interesting. Patrick, you're going next, my friend. You are going with the 2, not one of the Euros, who's actually a morning line favorite, I believe. Yeah, morning line favorite at 2-1 with Brian Lynch and Irad.
Yeah, this definitely has a lot to do with Irad being aboard. This is the type of race where I would typically go with one of the Euros, just thinking talent wise, shipping over. But I kept looking at Fast as Flight, and I just, the improvement through every start. Getting Irad Ortiz, the turf at Gulfstream Park has been iffy, especially when it got into March and into the beginning of April. I just think this horse might really take to the Keeneland ground and has been training pretty much fantastic. No complaints. So I'm gonna, I know it's the favorite. I'm saying I'm gonna take a shot. I just think this horse is a quality horse against Euros that are not dominant, to say the least.
Okay. And the 2 is definitely interesting. I'm not sure if this horse is going to be favored. I mean, I'm sure Nick Tammero's relying on the American bias. I think either the 3 of the 1's definitely going to end up being favored, just based on Euro form and connections alone. But this horse definitely stands there. This horse has a race at Gulfstream Park where it ran really well, losing to White Frost and Princess Theorem. White Frost is in a really nice race later that we'll take a look at. I believe it is the Doubledogdare that we'll get into. But this horse can definitely win. I'm just taking more. I think the 3 and the 1 have been racing against tougher over in Europe, but they are going to have to contend with that layoff, as Charlie pointed out. So the 2 is definitely a must use if you're playing a little bit more spready in the pick 5 in this race, which I don't think you necessarily have to.
Comment.
Which one? Oh, you typed your picks in reverse order and race the 2. God damn it, Jim. I had to read that out loud because of that. God damn it. Hey, don't worry about it, Jim. Don't worry about it. But I'm going with the number 3, Verreggio, for Walsh and Gaffleone. This horse has been racing really well over in Europe. Again, hasn't raced since August 27th of 22, which you pointed out. I think this horse has a lot of technical speed, and obviously that can translate over into America differently. This horse hasn't been his favorite as much as the 1 has. I think that's just generally based on connections alone. This horse has done absolutely nothing wrong over in Europe, and Walsh is really good with his foreign shippers, winning at 22% out of 57 runners. So this horse is definitely going to be live in this spot. Has works over the turf at Palm Meadows down in Florida, comes up to Keeneland, runs over the training track, which is synthetic over in Lexington, and works okay. I don't think necessarily that she was ramped up and ready to go, but I think she will be tight, and definitely the Euros will be tough in this spot. And that's all I have. Patrick, you have the last say. You're going with the 10 in third, which is Arm Candy for the other Walsh for John Velasquez in this spot.
Yeah, the other Walsh, like you said. This, you look at this horse's last 3 races and you're like, all right, Patrick, what are you looking at here? And it's just, it's one of those plays where I have a feeling that this horse is going to sit a trip, is going to go in behind horses and, take a shot. I don't think this horse can be on or near the lead. Its last race just had no chance, no closing bid whatsoever. Johnny V comes aboard. This is sort of more of a feel type of pick, just, coming off a race where it was off a long layoff, maybe a pass, and see what this horse can do second time out after a decent layoff.
Yeah, and I mean, second time off is going to be the most likely the key if you're trying to ride this horse. Did lose to White Frost, who again is in a really Princess Theorem market segmentation. I mean, this horse isn't losing to bad horses by any means, but hasn't really shown the closing kick that she showed way back in late 2021, early 2022. So she's definitely gonna have to come back into form, but at a decent price, probably about that 8. You're definitely gonna get the 8-1 with the 3 on the inside taking money. So if you like the price, this horse is definitely one to take a shot at. So, and a lot of people are pointing out the 6, which I'll touch on here, which is bipartisanship for Grand Motion and size. And this horse I did take a look at, guys. I was this close to putting her in third above the 2, although I think the 2 is just a better horse. It's coming over from the West Coast for Grand Motion, who obviously has some of his horses go over to the West Coast in the winter, and some of them they go all over the place, but he does have a West Coast stable out there in the winter. This horse just I don't know what the West Coast form is going to show. I like that she picks up Saya's. really too big, but really hasn't shown that ability to run that 95 that she ran at Gulfstream back in 21. I'm just not sure that this horse has very much upside. This horse could definitely be an underneath horse. Hopefully you'll get that 10-1, although with the connections, you might get a little bit lower. I think you might get around that 7 to 8-1 mark in that type of stuff. But this horse is definitely interesting. And if she's ready to go off that West Coast form, I think she could definitely get into the exotics for sure. Just to answer a few, Bipartisanship is the best horse. I think, like I said, she used to be the one of the and would be the best horse if it would, this race was late 2021, but she's definitely going to have to. I get the class that she's been running against, but she's going to have to show that she can do it against a really nice allowance field in this spot, especially with the 2 Euros and the 2 on the inside. And hey, Simon, thanks so much for joining the show, man. Greatly appreciate it. And Parker, man, the boss ain't here. This is the Young Guns show on Wednesdays. Howard will be back tomorrow for the flagship show. Bettin N Boozin is hosted by myself, and then
he's doing his homework.
Yeah, he's doing his homework. Yeah, he's grading papers right now is what he's doing. But Parker, thanks for joining the show, man. I greatly appreciate it. And then Jim actually states the 3 looks like a single. Now should come back, and that's I forgot to mention that, Jim. So thanks so much for pointing that out. This horse is now 4, turning 4 after running really well in Carraz, and Ireland is a 3-year-old. Now comes back 4, should be ramped up and ready to go. I love, and he's actually he's actually watching and lurking in the stream, but doesn't say anything, which is the classic Howard way. But no disrespect at all, Parker. Don't worry about that. I was joking around with Howard, as we usually do on this show. The boss ain't here, so we get to do whatever we want. But obviously, he's lurking. He's always watching. But no, don't worry, Parker. I didn't take it as any disrespect at all, guys. I'm going to move on here as we get deeper and deeper into this card. We're going with race 9. This is the featured race on the Friday card. It is the Grade 3 Doubledogdare Stakes. For $300,000 for horses going mile and a 16th on the dirt. Probably frontline finish, knowing this track. And the way it's played, I hate the frontline finishes. They used to do it at Arlington all the time, and I don't like it at all. I don't
terrible.
But this is the one race, guys, where we're actually the next race we're pretty similar on top, but we're kind of spread out on the bottom. But this is the one race that we're actually really close. But again, Charlie, you seem to be the odd man out on a lot of these races. That's why I'm going to continue to go to you first as I switch over to the Doubledogdare. You are going with the number 3. And actually, I messed up on the picks. I got to change my picks. They're not the right ones. But you're going with the number 3, who I think really has a big shot in this race. Frost Point for Bill Mott and Flavian Pratt.
Yeah, so, to be honest, I was going to try to go back to chalky once I saw the odds, but then I was like, you know what, I'm just standing my ground. I think I might have accidentally left this one off the ticket, which is a little unfortunate because I wanted to stick with my one bold pick, which was this 3 horse. But yeah, you got Bill Mott, you got Flavian Pratt, the connections. Obviously, Round has been only increasing in its speed figures, consistently strong races. I know, obviously, not this level of difficulty of a race, but nonetheless was dominant in its last effort out. I don't think you're getting 12-1. If people see these figures and it winning by 6 lengths and then the connections, I think this one will probably be closer to like 6, 7, 8-1. There's no way you're getting this in the double digits. But yeah, I think this horse is very, very live in this race.
I agree. And this is my, honestly, at 12-1, I was very surprised to see 12-1, but I think Nick's banking on that the 4 horse, who I'm going to get to in a second, is going to take a lot of money, as Nick pointed out. And I'm not hammered from the Millridge Farm party, Howard. You already gave me enough crap at that party. I don't need any more. But
was that before or after I texted you? You guys better get hammered that night.
That was during.
Oh, during.
Yeah, I was actually at the bar as you texted me that, which is hilarious. But Frost Point, I think this horse is extremely interesting in this spot. This horse can go to the front, albeit in a very slow pace at Aqueduct, and we know how Aqueduct plays to lead runners. But that last race at Aqueduct, closing on the track, getting an 85, and only improving for Bill Mott. Now Mott sees enough in this horse to throw her into the Doubledogdare, adding a 16th of a mile, which I really think helps this horse, if anything. This is my most likely winner, except for the 4, who's easily the horse to beat in this race. And Patrick, I'm going over to you here as we go to the 4, Interstate Daydream from Cox and Giroux, who just lost. I say just lost. Secret Oath looked much the best in that race and just got nosed off of by Clairiere in that race. But this horse is definitely the horse to beat in this spot.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And I just think this horse is going to set its own pace, and it's just going to could just be a wire to wire victory. Clear and above above as the favorite. And I just think, don't make the mistake, go to the lead and just, wire this field. I don't think there's anything else really to it. The horse is above him.
Patrick?
Yeah, you there?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that was all I was finishing with that. But
you started going out like you made that sound like you were going to keep going. That's my fault.
But the one thing I wanted to add too is Frost Point, who I haven't second. I probably sent that wrong. I have 4-3-1. This horse is one of those where I just think that is versatile, can go to the lead, cannot, and 2 back with the 85 buyer was off the pace and came back and won. So I think this horse, has a chance at, raising to the occasion and might have a chance.
Yeah, and I agree. And Nick, to your comment, I really don't think so. I think people are looking at this Parks race, which Charles B, to your point, Parks horse, that's the prep for the Cotillion. So the grade 1 Cotillion, she got second to Green Up, which I go up to her PPs. You could see the Cat Sophia and then the Cotillion. So the Cat Sophia is that prep for that for the Cotillion grade 1, obviously. So I really think Interstate Daydream will be favored tomorrow, and I think she'll be a pretty heavy favorite. Green Up will be bet, but coming out of a decent Cat Sophia losing to Green Up, but all the races beforehand just on numbers alone. But I think losing to Secret Oath and Clairiere just by a nose, and coming out of that Azeri. Well, obviously, Secret Oath and Clairiere both came back to run really well in the Apple Blossom, and we know the horses they are. So I think that's what's going to propel this horse to favoritism in this spot. And I'll go to Green Up just to touch on a little bit. We actually don't have Green Up anywhere, which is extremely. I don't really know how good this horse is, to be honest with you. This horse
this one
had that 100.
I think I had it on my ticket. Did I not?
I don't. That's what you sent me, so I'm not sure. I don't know what the hell's going on, Howard. To be honest with you, people are sending me stuff. It's not right. It's right. I don't even know anymore, to be honest with you. But I really don't. I don't know how good this horse is. Like, she popped that 100 at Parks, beating Interstate Daydream. But beforehand, I mean, she has a lot of wins. She's 4 for 6. But I mean, the 86 being her top and having Interstate Daydream run 4 straight low 90s. I'm just not sure how good this horse is. And if this horse is a mid-80s horse, I'm not sure that's going to be good enough to win the race or the Doubledogdare on Friday. So that's where I'm going. I think she'll probably be around that 3-1 mark, maybe 5-2 if she takes a lot of money with Irad and Pletcher, which she should. But I think Interstate Daydream will probably be about that 7-5 mark, and she will be the favorite at post time, at least my opinion. So, I got last say because I am the one out. I got Hidden Connection 4-1. That's interesting. This is really interesting. Coming out of the Azeri as well. I think this horse is going to set the pace. I'm not sure if there's too much pace to be able to go with her. Nick, to your comment, I agree, but I'll get there in a second. I think this horse gets to the lead, sets a decent trip. Maybe not good enough to hold on, but I think this horse can hold on for at least third in this type of spot. Really hasn't done too much wrong. The last race in the Azeri didn't do what she wants to do. She wants to go to the lead, or is better near the lead. Sat in the middle pack, was kind of in a weird trip, and then just never had the kick to fire on coming home. So I think she bounces back off that effort. I don't think she's good enough to win just based on figures and everything else alone. Like that, Raylu gets back up in the spot. Obviously, he's been on the horse through all 10 starts. But like I said, I like this horse to get out to the front and hold on for hopefully a bit of a slice. But I'm going 4-3-7. Patrick's going 4-3-1, and Charlie is the loud man out going 3-4-1. Guys, I'm going to switch our picks over to the last race right now. And hopefully they're right. I don't know what the hell's going on anymore. Patrick's and Charlie's are right. So maybe mine are just wrong. Who the hell knows? But we are all going with the number 5 in this spot, which is the only race where we seem to really agree. Which I thought it was a really weird spot to agree on. Honestly, I was going back and forth in this race between my 2 top picks. I didn't know which one to put on top, but Jim, the chalk is back, baby. Let's go. But Patrick, since you haven't really gone first yet, Charlie's been the odd man out. I'm gonna let you go first. What did you like most about Battle of Normandy?
Yeah, keep me on my toes here. I need to go first. But with the Battle of Normandy, I mean, this horse has not raced since Keeneland in 2022 at the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, which, that's a decently long layoff. Comes back to this track and will race in a allowance, and it's just one of those, you think this horse is very talented, which the horse should be. Has run 3 graded stakes, hasn't won any of them since its debut. Has been training well, but I kind of just look at this horse, gets IRAD. It's like, could we give this horse a race? Sure. My pick 5 ticket will show that, but I just think that, this horse has the talent, and on top of all these other horses, I'll have this horse on top just because I believe talent is there.
And hey, Jim, that's a lie. I picked the 3. That's a lie. That's not the favorite. Whether it's a favorite at post time or not, you're wrong. Sorry, had to get that out. But Patrick, I agree with you. There's just really not that much in this spot, really. I mean, I know Shug isn't the best coming off of these kind of short to longer layoffs, but I'm not going to doubt Shug. I think this horse is extremely talented. I think this horse hits a really nice trip in this race. As long as she can get room at the top of the stretch, I think Battle of Normandy, if he's ready, I'm taking a drink. I usually do it the other way, but I'm taking a drink for that one. But I think Battle of Normandy could get really tough in this spot if he is ready. Charlie, do you have anything to add before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, this was a very interesting and weird race for me. I didn't know what to do with the 5. I had a feeling it was going to be the favorite. I didn't think it'd be this heavy just because it's not exactly proven. But, I mean, it's an expensive horse. It's got IRAD on it. Works are all right. I mean, it's been in brutally tough races. And, I mean, you can see in its last race, 48-1 or whatever. So, like, they put it in some tough races. This seems more reasonable. I just feel like this is a spot where they're like, look, it won on debut. We got optimistic. Second race was very respectable in the grade 3. Tried to move it up again in the last 2, and it was just obviously out of depth because it couldn't handle it. Ran against Major Dude, who's a great horse. And, yeah, I think this is just a super easy spot, and this feels like kind of like all right, we had the layoff. Let's get this as a warm-up win, get the horse's legs back under it, and try to build its way back up to where they thought the horse should be.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this horse, if he's ready, this horse is going to be the horse to beat in this spot. The 2 is interesting, guys. I'll touch on that in the end. I'm not sure that he's really going to be any type of long shot. I think people are going to bet the numbers alone and the 1s, but I'll get on that at the end. But Charlie, I'll let you touch on that in a second. Patrick, I'm going to let you finish up here. I'm going to go the 9 Dream Ride for Rosario and Wilkes, who comes off a pretty decent race in the Colonel Liam, but could never get anything going.
Yeah, the horse could never do anything in that race. This is, like I said, one of those races where you try and take shots here and there. Ran in the anticipation with Battle of Normandy. The horse did not really show up too much there. To be honest with you, the horse really hasn't shown up, but has gotten decent buyers to fit. So it's, it's kind of one of those, is this your day? Ian Wilkes is decent first-time Lasix, which I don't mind. So, this is a shot, another shot play, 6-1. Why not? Joel on the turf as well. I can't go wrong with that. And then I have the 4 in third. Listen, this is another play where it's shipping in from Gulfstream, coming from Woodbine as well. I always like the angle of, like, if you ship them in and they haven't ever raced at Keeneland to a big track, like, why not take a chance? Like, they're confident. Why not? You know what I mean? And jockey and trainer, both of them are hitting at 25%. So it's like one of those things, just take a shot. 12-1. Why not?
Yeah, and I mean Matt Miller brings up another good. Obviously, it doesn't help for the pick five as I put us back on screen, but look, it seems like a very good favorite to bet against. Maybe value and double, absolutely, and that's what I'm going to touch on. Obviously on Twitter every single weekend, which I put out my picks and my best bets, which are always usually doubles or best win bets that I have. But this is the value is created in this race, especially with a horse with question marks coming off that layoff, is going to be in the doubles, whether it's with Interstate Daydream or whoever's your top pick. There's the two guys I'll let Charlie touch on it. Obviously, as he has it, I'll let him finish up, and then I'll finish up mine, and we'll go on to our pick fives to end it here. But I agree with you, Matt. The probable board is, the board is definitely going to be your friend in this race because you're going to see who's taking money. There's not really necessarily, obviously, any like first time starters to watch the board or anything like that, but to see who's taking money in a spot like this where there's a lot of question marks for a lot of these horses, it's definitely interesting. Charlie, the chat pick is the number 2, and you got full reins on this one, no pun intended. But what did you like most about Ocean Point?
I mean, for me, it's simple. Again, we've talked about this. I like closers, and you look at the way it came back in its last race. I don't know how that doesn't get you excited. I think a lot of people are going to have that same thought process, and it'll get bet down because of it. I think it's honestly at a fair value right now. I think maybe also partially for me personally, I don't know much about the connections. Maybe that is also part of the reason that it's at opening at 9-2. Because again, if you look at the figures in that last race and even the race before, you look at its last 3 races, it really is good enough that it could be closer to favoritism. So I definitely think this horse can be dangerous. And then one other thing is I did see some people talk about it in the chat. I'll admit I'm nervous about it too. I have this horse in my top 3, but not on my ticket. With how questionable this field is, I would not be surprised if the 10 wire this field and I end up kicking myself for not putting it in my ticket because I think the 10 is a very dangerous horse. Again, okay figures, but very strong early pace, has shown an ability to wire in the past. And again, with how questionable this field is, it would not surprise me if we end up watching this race and the 10 just goes wire to wire and we all are like, oh my God, why didn't we have this horse somewhere?
8-1, you'll probably get full odds on that horse. It's just coming back. The figures are a little low, but in the spot like this, where there's really not any horses that excite you on figures, doesn't necessarily have a pace advantage, but will definitely be on the lead for sure. And like I said, it's definitely more of a dirt bias at Keeneland, or not bias. I shouldn't say bias, but it seems like horses really like to come from more from the front. The turf is generally playing a lot more fair, at least from what I've witnessed. The 10 is definitely a wire threat in this spot for sure. As long as she improves, I think it's probably high 70s. It may be low 80s, but mostly high 70s is going to win this race. And if she can improve, or I keep saying if he can improve off that last race at Gulfstream, I think he could definitely be a wire threat in this race. So I completely agree with you, Charlie, there. I went the 7, Reckoning Force in second. Went in that rush away that we just mentioned with the 10, or with the 2, excuse me. But never really got anything going. Whether he didn't like synthetic or what it was, I'm not 100% sure. But back she has, or I keep saying she. What is wrong with me? What is going on today? Today's just, I know I'll drink. Don't you worry about that. I got about enough she to he's to finish this drink right now. So I'll get there in a second. But he has turf numbers. The 80 is definitely good enough to win this race. That was actually on the lead. I don't necessarily think that's what this horse wants to do. I think this horse is more of a mid-pack to honestly not far back, but back closer. If this horse continues to improve off that 80 on the turf, I think this horse could definitely be has 2 kind of duds over Keeneland, but one was the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf and one was in the Bourbon. So grade 2 to grade 1, obviously Breeders' Cup as well. I don't necessarily count that against him, where more of his spot can be in this allowance company type of field. So I'm going to give Wrecking Force another shot. Coming back a little bit quick for Brendan Walsh, but I like that the horse has back numbers, and I'm finishing it off with the 4, as Patrick touched on. This horse is interesting coming over from Gulfstream for Atfield. Picks up Sias, who I think is going to be aggressive in this spot, being that the 10 is going to be obviously really aggressive to get to the front. I think Sias is either going to be right with the 10 or just off. I don't know if it necessarily has enough early speed to be with the 10 on the front turn, but will be up forwardly placed. And if the 10 is going to be the running out of gas, this is going to be the horse that's going to have first run. And I think this horse could definitely be a more of a price, and especially at 12-1, I'm willing to take it with that price with Saez up. Guys, I'm going to go to our pick fives now as we're running out of time here. The boss is going to be mad, but we'll take it as it goes. Charlie, you're on listed first, so hopefully I have these right. If not, then we're all in trouble. But Charlie is going, this is more of the Charlie ticket that I know, rather than last week that I looked at. But Charlie's going 1-3-4 with 1-2-6 with 1-2-3 with 2-4 2-5 for $54. Charlie, talk about your ticket.
Yeah, I mean, there just wasn't a horse really for me that I thought could be singled. I mean, I don't regret at all, even though it didn't work out with Secret Oath. I don't regret with the singles that I went with. And that last race, like we had talked about, was a disaster. So I don't regret any of that. But yeah, no, this time it was tough. I mean, I think there's a lot of races where for me there were a few that stood out, but more so they stood out from the rest of the field rather than stood out enough where I could go with one of them. Again, there's the race where I really do think it comes down to 1, 2, and 3. With 1, 2, and 6, again, just banking on one of my first-time starters proving me right, and then getting a little thinner later on because I do think the 4 is the horse to beat. But I mean, the 2 beat the 4 before, so had to throw it in there. And then in the last race, again, it's tough. I mean, maybe the 10 wires them, and I'm wrong, but I kind of had the same thought you did, Kyle, where I think it could definitely go to the front and finish in the underlays, but it's probably going to need to get in the high 70s, and I don't know if it will. So that's how I ended up with the 2 and 5. So yeah, that's my ticket.
Hey, like I said, I love you going skinny with your opinions. Like I always say, trust your opinions, even though you won't single a horse. But I guess I just
I've done it before now.
I know. I'm just giving you shit. But $54 for Charlie's ticket there. Patrick is going $72, going actually no single as well, going 4-5 with 1, 2, 5, 6, 8, 9, with 1, 2, with 3, 4, with 4, 5, 9 for a $72 ticket. Patrick, go ahead.
Yeah, listen, I'm always a big fan of singling, and I'm not gonna lie to you. In the second leg, I'm going 6 deep. I was about to single the 8 check engine light for Abreu and Saez, and then I wind myself up with 6 deep. That's how I think this card is gonna go. To be honest with you, yeah. So 4, 5. Those are my top 2 choices. Try and get out of there because I feel like if I get out of there, I'm getting to the second leg and I should be clear. Then I'm going 1, 2, going with the Cox horse on the inside and the shipper coming over from Europe. And then in the 9th race, I'm going with the 3 and the 4. Maybe try to beat Interstate Daydream with Frost Point. And then in the 10th race, it's just I like Battle of Normandy coming back. Is it somebody that I would bet to win? Maybe not. But I think my 3 choices in there are all logical bets.
Yeah, and like I said, everyone has their own say. This is definitely a hard sequence to pick his favorite or pick anyone to single. I'm going to do it, as you'll see, as it brings down my ticket cost and allows me to spread in races where I have less of an opinion. So Alexander Remington, thanks so much for joining this show, my friend. I will be, trust me, I'm always trusting my hardest opinion, and my biggest opinion is going to be on the screen now. I'm going 1, 2, 4, 5 with 2, 5, 6, 8, 9 with 1, 3, singling Interstate Daydream, and going 1, 4, 5, 7 in the last. In the first leg, which is race 6, I have my top 3, which is the 1 with Irad and Albert Stahl, who we think has a pace advantage in that race. The 2, Schmooze in my top pick. The number 4, Appeal Denied. And I also have Supremely that you mentioned, Patrick, which I believe is your top pick in that race for Lannery and Foley at 8-1 morning line. The second race, I'm spreading like Patrick. That's the maiden race. I really like the 9 in that race, but in a pick 5 sequence, this would be the race to look for prices. I'm going with my top 4 as I touched on a little bit, and I'm adding the 2 for Stidham and Irad in that spot. The 8th race, I'm including the 2 shippers and nobody else. I think they have to do it off the layoff, but they're generally above the rest. Fastest Flight is the favorite in that race. I will be tossing him out in favor of the Euros, but the 2 is definitely logical in that race. Singling Interstate Daydream, who is my top opinion on the day. I think this horse, not necessarily head and shoulders above the rest, but the one horse that I did throw out was Frost Point, just to bring down the price of my ticket, obviously with a single. Like I said, it's my biggest opinion. I'm going to hit my biggest opinion hard. And I think that's generally the consensus when you're trying to make these tickets. And I went my top 3 picks, the 5, 7, and 4 in the last, and I'm actually including Mooncat in there. I was between Mooncat and Ocean Point. You can go either way, in my opinion. The one has good numbers on turf. The two has good numbers on synthetic. For lesser known barn, the one's for Chris Davis and Johnny Velasquez. So you can go either way in that race. I went with Mooncat, but Ocean Point is definitely a logical winner for sure. And Jim, I'm getting to your point right now, and then Charlie, I'll let you go ahead and rant on, and I'll rant on that the fact that Giannis that won't play on Thursday, which I'm obviously on him to get better, but Jim goes, hey, Kyle, will Smoking Jay race Saturday if it's off the turf? Looks like a very wet forecast. I'm actually seeing better forecasts each and every single day that I'm looking at it. The answer is no. He will not race if the race is off the turf, and will most likely go to I believe he'll race in 2 weeks or 2 to 4 weeks. He's either racing on Derby weekend, or he's racing if he doesn't race this, or he'll race in the Pimlico turf special like he did last year and lost to Karotari.
And then bring him over towards me in New York.
Hey, man, look, I'm telling you, if he races well, which, again, on numbers alone, based off that 95 off the layoff, he fits really well in that race. If not, he will probably be one of the closer favorites in that race. Obviously, maybe not on connection with Kelsey. He does pick up Tyler in that race. So I think with that 95 will be one of the top choices in that race. And if he races well, Patrick, Belmonte, here we come. You know what I'm saying? Just like last year. We'll see how it goes. But that is the pick. And Nick Feldman, see, one of my astute viewers, Mooncat is definitely an interesting one, and we'll feel bad if Kyle drives out to Keeneland, race comes off the turf. Jim, you know me, man. I'm just gonna be sitting up there eating my bread pudding, drinking some brews, and just having a good time anyway, even if Smoking Jay doesn't win. And like I said, I'll have my beautiful girlfriend to be with me, who hasn't been to Keeneland yet, has never been to Kentucky in that capacity. So I'm excited to show her around the farms and everything else that is the beautiful area of Lexington. So I won't feel bad either way, trust me, but it will be nice to see my horse and get in that winner's circle, just like I did last weekend, but for different reasons, obviously. And Nick, to answer yours, yes, the Jaipur will be at Belmonte. He raced in it last year, really didn't even get a fair shake, got bumped hard out of the gate, and then chasing Artie, Safi Joseph just decided to stop right in front of him as he was probably hopefully coming up for a slice on the turn, but it would be the Jaipur on Belmonte if he runs well in this spot, most likely. But guys, thanks again for everyone that joined in to watch our Keeneland Friday special. Greatly appreciate it. Now I'm turning it over to the man himself as he gives his Sun suck picks for the rest of the playoffs, the NBA playoffs here. Charlie, it is all you, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, just a little recap on how I'm feeling about the playoffs. I mean, look, I'm just so thankful right now that Chris Paul finally beat the rigged ref Scott Foster allegations. 0-13, 2-17 overall. Actually, I watched the Sean Donahue documentary, and it turned out Scott Foster rigged more calls than him, and yet they kept him around in the league. So to finally see Chris Paul defeat Scott Foster in a legacy game, all I think that does, in all seriousness, though, is if you're betting the Suns, just double down. I mean, he exercised his demons. That was the first one down. The Clippers are in trouble, in my opinion. I think the reality is the Suns have started slow. You're going to LA, which is Chris Paul's home. For those of you that don't remember, in the playoffs, the last time they played the Clippers in a Game 6 elimination, Chris Paul put up 41 and put them away. I think they're going to go into LA and take at least one, maybe both, and get that series over with. The Lakers lost, so it's great to see LaFraud, Mickey Mouse Clubhouse lose, even without John Morant. So it's good to see that they're struggling. The Warriors are cooked. And Draymond got a suspension as deserved.
Hey, you gave me shit for that, by the way. The Sacramento's up 2-0. Granted, they're at home, but still looking pretty good. I
think Sacramento's going to win that in 7. I just don't see either team ever stealing a game on the road. Well, I just don't see either team stealing a game on the road. I don't see it. I don't. The Warriors at home.
Warriors win game 3. Sacramento wins game 4. They come back home, win game 5.
But I mean, I think the Lakers are still going to win in 6, unfortunately. I think Sacramento, we're going to have a lot of California teams, though, moving on. Denver, I mean, Minnesota shouldn't be in the playoffs. I wish the Thunder for vibes could have been in, but the Thunder, it doesn't matter. The Nuggets will get swept by the Suns in round 2. The East, I mean, Boston is just a problem. Philly isn't doing it for me. I mean, Patrick, I got to give your Knicks credit.
Oh yeah,
for
come
that
on,
game
let's
1
go.
win.
Let me hear it.
Yeah.
No,
Wait.
admit
This
it.
is
I gotta admit it.
unprecedented,
I
right
got
here.
to own up. I do think the Knicks are going to give Donovan Mitchell and company trouble. However, I do think what Stephen A was worried about, which was them getting too comfortable after the game 1 win, was exactly what happened. I think that's what happened in game 2. I think that's why they got the break speed off of them. I think Thibodeau has to be careful. He's risking a Derrick Rose 2.0 with what happened with Julius Randle late. I mean, Milwaukee's winning in 5, and I'm so happy because my friend that's a Heat fan was giving me all the crap in the world after the Bucks lost game 1 and Giannis went down and saying that series was over. And now without Giannis, the Bucks are up like 500 points. So that game's over. That series is over. Kyle, congrats on the second round.
Oh, they're playing right now. Yeah, I forgot about that.
I'm sorry for my boy Mikal Bridges, man, because he's playing so well, but he's just so overmatched. I still think a lot of my predictions will be accurate. I will own it, though. Yeah. I think I had Cleveland on this show in like 5 or 6. I think Cleveland's going to win in 7 now. I think New York could still take that series, but I'll admit it, Patrick. I'll own it. I normally am always right. I still think I am always right.
And doubt Jalen Brunson, too. Keep doubting him.
I love Jalen Brunson. That's the local kid. I don't know. It's fun to hate on the Knicks. All my friends are from New York, so they love them. But, I mean, look, it's still for everybody when I gave out my picks, still the Suns are still winning it all. Don't you worry. Stick with that, and you'll make a lot of money. Still going to be Suns-Bucks in the finals, Kyle. Maybe we'll go to a game together, and we can do a live podcast, and I can give you crap.
Do live podcasts from Milwaukee? I love it. I ain't going
I'll give you a little crap for it. But, nothing's changed, people. Don't worry. The Suns just wanted to give everybody a little excitement and give them a little more value by losing game 1. It was on purpose. So they're still winning it all. It's over. It's already over. I mean, we'll watch what happens, but it's over.
I will say though, you can't they did not look good in that game 1 loss. They
look bad in both games. They've looked terrible. I mean, it doesn't help that they don't have campaign and that their bench is a disaster that can't score. And Monty Williams is picking out of a hat for who comes off the bench, which is not the best time to be doing this.
See, and this guy's picking them to win, and he just says their bench is
because the reality is they have a guy by the name of Christopher Emmanuel Paul. They have Devin Armani Booker, and I don't know Kevin Durant's middle name, but they got him too. Unfortunately, they have DeAndre and Monty Williams, but they can overcome that.
I'm just messing with you, man. I just looked at the score. They're up 20. Bucks are up 26 at half, scoring 81 points.
Ridiculous.
Dude, leave it to Jrue Holiday when Giannis goes out.
I didn't even know. I just got an alert. The Bucks went on a 24-2 run.
That's pretty good last time I checked. And I mean, that's the whole. That's basically their whole lead right now. I mean, they're up 26. But I mean, leave it to Jrue Holiday and when Giannis goes out, Brook Lopez is Splash Mountain, excuse me. Sorry. Splash Mountain steps up to and Planet Pat actually is 13. I'm looking at right now. Chris Middleton, I still say he's a fucking bum. I hate that guy.
Yeah, but no, just as you brought him up, I was gonna say, I don't know if you saw, but like in the Players Anonymous survey, Jrue Holiday got a ton of love. They said he's the best defensive player and most underrated player in the league.
Yeah, I mean, how much crap did the Bucks get when they signed Jrue Holiday to that?
Yeah,
he got a big contract.
I hate to say it, but I know he's legit because I remember the NBA Finals when he stole it from Booker. Man, he's a dog on defense, and obviously, I'm happy for the guy. The problem is he's such a likable player in person. Yeah, but I have every reason to dislike him, and yet I can't. I get
it. Like I said, as long as the Bucks, Giannis comes back for game 3, he scores 40 on the Heat for 2 straight games on the road.
They just got to take one in Miami. He doesn't even need to be back for game 3. Honestly, if he's just back by game 4, you just need him for one of those Miami games.
I know. Well, judging by that, we might not need him for any. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, Jrue Holiday can't drop 21.5 every day, but it's just an absolutely fun time right now. And I mean, the Bulls aren't in. Although I was in a bar while the Bulls were playing the Heat. I was rooting for the Bulls so hard, not because I wanted the Bulls to win. Wanted the easy matchup. Yeah, exactly. But obviously,
and it could have maybe gone to a game. Milwaukee and Chicago for all the games. At least it could have been more local. But hey, you know what? If Giannis got hurt, I mean, obviously we don't know if he would have gotten hurt. But then the Bulls could have stolen a game. But it was tough. Part of me wanted to see the Bulls win. The other part was like, I just want to stop the bleeding and just end it. Like, just put the Bulls down. They need to be put down. Their season was over.
Yeah.
They got to
as much as we all made fun of him, like on the internet and stuff, Lonzo Ball is a big part of that team. He really is.
Well, if he can come back healthy, he's doing a surgery where no one's ever recovered, and I'm pulling for him. Because reality is after he got through those LA days, and there was all like the stuff with his dad, he really did become a different guy once he left LA and did work to improve as a player. So I do feel for the guy. And I will put out a public warning to everybody who follows me on Twitter. As much as I appreciate it, I will just warn you, since it is the NBA playoffs, just be careful what you see. I don't always mean what I say.
Be careful what you see. Don't take it all to heart.
I will warn. I had a few tweets about Scott Foster that weren't the nicest things I could have said in the world, but it was also well deserved. So I stand by it, but just know I don't always mean what I say. I'm just having a good time. I'm meant for the hot takes and strong opinions.
That's one way to put it. Patrick, what are you saying?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, he says, be careful what you see. I mean, maybe it's just to you, Charlie. Be careful what you post.
Well, be careful what you say rather than see.
But as much as I like Katie, I'm not the guy who's going to go hide behind a burner. Like, I stand by what I say. Sometimes it's not the best
fair.
thing to say.
All right. After the burner comment, I think we're done here, ladies and gentlemen. But
yeah,
guys, thanks so much for joining in, and everyone out there, thanks so much for joining in and commenting and everything. I had a great time. Thanks for bringing your opinions. And if you have any while you're watching this later, please comment below the video player on your best opinion for this Keeneland Late Pick 5 on Friday, as there'll be a lot of people scrolling through the comments to try and find a really good bet to center their day around, like I said, for Friday. So guys, for my co-host Patrick Kuenzel and Charlie Freeman, this has been your host Kyle Roscoe for episode number 16 of Bettin N Boozin here on the HHH Racing Podcast. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great night.